Welcome to my channel. So this week we're talking about first trimester, what that was like, what it felt like, what I went through, what I endured, grief, right, from the loss of a loved one during the first trimester, and all of the solutions everybody thought would work for me that didn't work for me. All right, let's get into it. So I told you guys how I knew that I was pregnant. We kind of went through that whole thing in the fillings. And so as the first trimester is happening, I told you that I was miserable and I was sick and all of that. But I had a lot of other things that was going on. I had incessant itching, like my breasts were really itchy, my stomach was really itchy. I was scratching like I had a million mosquito bites all over my body, and everybody had their own remedies and what was supposed to work. And my mom had me ordering all these cocoa butter sticks from Amazon, and somebody said, Crisco and olive oil and this and this and this, and nothing worked. And so what I found for me that is down below is this CBD spray that we use in the company that I work for called Rejuve, and there's an oil called MU oil. And so I've literally been putting that on my breasts and nipples and stomach for over a month. And when I tell you all, the relief that I have had has been like in a total like bliss. Like it's an amazing feeling to get rid of something that's been bothering you. I was extremely exhausted. I would find myself sleeping just a lot, right? And that's one of the normal things. That's not really a biggie. But here I am, a volleyball coach. I own St. Clair County Volleyball Club. Started this club over 7 years ago, and in the midst of finding out that I'm pregnant, I also am trying to find somewhere for my club to be, right, for us to practice, because we have been bought out of a space that we were in. That's a whole other story for a whole nother day. But I had to figure out how I was going to make this season work while being nauseous all day. It wasn't morning sickness, it was all day sickness, while trying to keep the same energy on the court. And it was a lot, and I felt like I couldn't do it. And I would show up, and before I had told anybody that I was pregnant, I'm like out of breath. I've got my mask on, and it was just very, very difficult for me to keep maintaining the energy and effort that I've always had as a coach and as a person. I felt like I couldn't do it, but God gave me the strength, and I was able to muster through it. And so now I'm getting to the point where it's time to have trials and practices. And again, this is all during the first trimester. And so I'm tired. I'm so tired. I don't want to make phone calls. Everybody gets on my nerves, right? I noticed that my mood had changed, my attitude had changed, and so me being this really nice and humble and sweet and jovial and I'll just help the world girl, right, turned into I wish somebody would. Like I was so ready to like get into like the bone crusher mode, like, or like we ready, whatever. So I had never felt this much anger before, and people just really being insensitive and getting on my nerves, right? And one of the people that I work with, I didn't tell that I was pregnant, and I work in a school, and so they were trying to get me to like do this lunch duty, and I was so furious because, and this is just me, everything smelled really bad to me. Normally I would say everything stank, right? Because that's just how I talk to my friends, like everything stank. Like I just couldn't stomach any of it, and I was so pissed and I was so furious. But even though I didn't tell them that's why I didn't want to do it, I don't know if I felt like they should just know, but I was just like, if I'm telling you something that's making me uncomfortable, like don't force me to do it. Like you shouldn't make me do something that makes me uncomfortable. Whatever. If people would call and like ask me questions, normally my patience is like, all right, I'll look it up, I'll do it, no problem. And the first trimester, I was like, "Can you read?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, I felt myself just triggered, like constantly triggered and annoyed. And so I told you guys that I wanted to make the announcement my own. And so there were a few people that I told first, and one of those people that I told a week after I knew was my dad. and my dad had he had been wrestling with lung cancer for about a year and a half. And so I texted him and I was like, Daddy, I'm pregnant. And he's like, what? Are you serious? It's like, yes, Dad. And we're like texting back and forth. He's like, you girls just keep giving me so many reasons to live. I'm just so excited. I'm so happy. Because, I'm the only one of the older girls who doesn't have any kids. And so Dad was really excited. And 2 weeks later, Dad died. And it was very gruesome. And a lot of people didn't know because they weren't there. And so with the pregnancy hormones and how I was feeling, I was so annoyed at the insensitivity of people and how selfish they can really be. And it was just heightened for me in this season. And so my little sister, I'll never forget it. It was 11/28. 10/28. 11/28 was my car accident. Oh, God. Anyway, it was 10/28, and my little sister called me and my big sister. We have a group chat on Messenger, and she's just screaming, my dad, my dad, my dad. And it was like 11-something at night. I'm asleep, right, because the baby makes me exhausted. I'm just kind of like out of it. And we have no idea what she's saying, and we don't know what's going on. And I didn't even really look at my phone. Like, I literally had just woken up. And so once I got up, I said, well, let me call her again. I don't know what's going on, because Dad goes to the hospital a lot. There was a lot with the procedure. He had like 3 rounds of radiation and chemo, and he was supposed to go again, and they kept rescheduling him and saying something's wrong with the machine. It was always something wrong, so he never even got to his second or his other last round of radiation that he was supposed to do. He would have these issues with his throat, so I took him to a surgery appointment that he had because he was losing his voice, and he was really terrified about that because he's been a DJ since before I've been born, and that was one of the things that made him happy, being able to be on the mic and being able to talk. I mean, his name is DJ Mike T, right? He would play music, and it's on Facebook, and my dad would DJ, and he played the old school songs, and so I knew, Teddy P and Teddy Riley, right? Of the Whispers, like the old stuff, like it was ingrained because Dad just played music all the time, and he still did it, even at the house with my little sister. So I'm thinking Dad's just going to the hospital again because he had these scares he kept having where he was waking up in the middle of the night and couldn't breathe, right? And he had to go to the hospital, and his oxygen had dropped to like 80, and they're like, Mr. Thomas, normally people don't make it at this point. And so he was just a fighter, and he was a trooper, but we just knew that it was a constant battle. And so I called back, and she had did a video call. And when I called back, her mom answered, and I'm just hearing all of this screaming. But what I see is my father laying in a pool of blood, and it was a lot of blood around my dad. And in that moment, I knew he was gone. I knew he was gone, but I also knew I needed to get over there for my little sister and for the family, because when you are the one who everybody leans on, and you're the one that everybody calls on, you have to be strong at all times. You don't get a chance to be vulnerable. You don't get a chance to fall out and roll out and cry and hit the floor and all these things you may want to do emotionally. You feel responsible, right? You have to be the one who can take action and get things done. Like, somebody has to have the level head. Why does it have to be me? I don't want it to be me. Can somebody else take over? And I don't get to get out of it, right? It's just a part of who I am in life, and in everything that I do, there is a leadership spirit on me, and so it's not just for my family. So I have this image that will never leave my mind, will never leave my vision. I will forever see this image. And my older sister was on the call, but I'm so grateful that she didn't even see it, because I asked her and she didn't. And I just don't know how that would have affected her had she saw what I saw. So I get over there, and I'm too late to see him because the ambulance already came, the cops were there, and they had wheeled my daddy off to the hospital to work on him. But I get to the house, and it looks like a crime scene. And I can see and visualize my dad's death in this house. And there's a trail of blood. He always slept on the couch. It's just where he wanted to be. And there's a trail of blood from the couch to the living room, kitchen, area and all of that. And in the kitchen, there's this huge pool of blood where it looks like maybe he, fell and hit his head or whatever. It also looks like he had probably been coughing up blood on his way to the kitchen. And just to know that my father died in that manner, you know that everybody's going to die one day. You know that people are going to pass away, but you pray that it's peaceful. You pray that they don't suffer. And my dad, he died the way that he died. So here we are in October. I'm in the very, very beginning stages of my first trimester, and I still have to run a business. I still have to go to practice. I still have to keep my head up and keep the same energy, and I did not want to. And so it blew my mind how many people were calling and texting about something they needed. My dad dies, and I get phone calls about what other people need from me. Wow, right? Just wow. It's very difficult, even now, when I go back and think about that time, and even just now, it blew my mind how insensitive people can be and how they don't care, because your emergency is not their emergency, and whatever they need, they want in that moment, and it doesn't matter what you are dealing with. And we had sat at the table with the funeral home, and we were making the arrangements, and I remember going to the burial plot to pay for the plot, and I went by myself because I just thought I would be fine. And the lady in the office was insensitive. And it's like, I know you deal with death every day, and maybe it has made you numb as hell, but this is my father, right? Have some respect. Be a little cordial. Because right now I'm ready to slap you through this glass, right? And I told you, it's been a lot managing emotions while being pregnant, because things I could normally stomach and be like, okay, Mikeia, you don't know what kind of day she's had. And I'm constantly giving people grace. And I'm like, you know what? I'm a little over this grace thing. Like, I'm tired of giving you Negroes grace. And that was going to cover everybody. Every race. Everybody was going to be that. Like, I'm just being transparent and real about how annoyed and sick of people I had become. And so they asked me if I want to see the plot where my dad is going to be. And I said, yes. Show me so I can know and we can go and da-da-da-da. Okay, I'm back. I've got my life together. Hello, my love. How are you? He never likes to be without being in the videos when he's with me. So say hello to the people, my darling. Do you want to do this video with mommy? All right, we're going to make it work. You want to get comfortable? This is what you want? All right, great. So I go into practice, I don't say much, and I just try to keep it together for the business. And people want to be entrepreneurs, and they want to be business owners, and they want to, run their own life and determine their own time and schedule and be responsible for, so many things. They want to, do the online e-commerce thing, and they want to have their own Airbnb, and they want to have whatever. But in having those things, life does not stop happening to you. And I never thought, and this is not the first time that someone has passed away while I've been coaching, but this is my daddy. Like, this is my dad. And so I just knew that he would make it to see my baby be born. And one of the things that broke my heart the most about the situation was that I didn't get to meet my grandparents. I didn't get to meet my dad's dad. I didn't get to meet my mom's mom. They both passed away from cancer long before I was born. And that's something that I've always had to live with, that people really don't know really, really bothers me. Because I believe that family is important. I believe that the history is important. I believe that you need to know what's in your bloodline. I believe that some people, when they try, alcohol or cigarettes or any type of drugs and get addicted so quickly, it's in your bloodline. There is something in your bloodline that already has that addiction trait or gene, and there are some things that you have to stay away from because it's already in your blood. And so when my mother is telling me about my grandmother, all I can do is hear her, and she's absolutely gorgeous. And I'll flash a picture of her really quick, just like right here. But I don't know her. And that breaks my heart that, somebody can tell me I have some characteristics, or, your nose flares up. You know how they do. They tell you about somebody you remind them of that you've never met or you've never seen. My mom always tells me about her two brothers that were both murdered, that I've never had a chance to meet before. And she tells me how awesome they were. And it's like, man, would they be proud of who I am today as a part of their history and their legacy? And so my parents got divorced when I was younger, and I never went to a family reunion on my father's side at all. Like, not at all. And so I asked him one day, I was like, Dad, I want to know my family. And so I began to go on a journey, and I started traveling to meet people in Atlanta and reaching out to people on, Facebook, and just connecting because I wanted to know where I came from and what's in my bloodline. My dad tells me that his father was a barber. He was an entrepreneur, right? So that's where some of that spirit comes from. My mom's dad, that I did know, was a carpenter. He was born in 1904. He was around for the East St. Louis race riots. He helped build some of the schools that I went to. Like, my grandfather was a mason, a well-known mason. And this other guy that works with me, who does some of the maintenance things in the building, was like, your grandfather taught me almost everything that I know. Right? And so to know that even though my grandfather's been gone for years, he left such an impact and a delicate mark on somebody else's life, that there's now a legacy of somebody who's using information that my grandfather taught them when they were alive. And so it broke my heart because my child won't get to experience meeting their grandfather and having that relationship and knowing who he was and getting a chance to have an impact on their life by him. And that was really difficult for me, and it's still difficult for me. But I still have to get up and do my assignment every day. I still have to get up and motivate the people and motivate myself. I still have to get up and, check my own relationship with God. I still have to get up and make sure that this business is running right. And then I got my calendar planned out. Like, life can't stop because a life stops. And for some reason, we all would prefer a pause. And we all would prefer for life to stop just a minute so that we could get ourselves together. But nothing stops when a life stops. The phone does not stop ringing. I'm not talking about the people who check on you. I'm talking about the people who always need something and your bills are going to always be due. Like, life won't stop when a life stops. And so you still have to figure out how to keep going. And I remember being booked for a speaking engagement. And I didn't know if my father's funeral was going to be that weekend or the weekend before. And it ended up being the weekend before. And I definitely could have called and said, hey, sis, I don't feel like it. But then it would have been selfish of me not to complete an assignment, number one, that I was booked for, and number two, I was assigned for. And so I go to the speaking engagement, and the response from it was just so amazing. And the women were so impacted, and they were so grateful, and they messaged me and inboxed me and shared different clips of things that I said. And I'm like, I know that you called me for this season to be this person and to do these things, but God, I need the strength to keep doing them while I'm hurting and feeling what I'm feeling, while I'm a Christian and I'm saved, but I want to cuss some people out, and I got to be transparent. I want to go off on some people. There's some people I even maybe want to fight because my flesh is weak, and the emotions tied to being pregnant are on a whole nother level that I've never felt before. So that's just been a process. And so now here we are in January, and there's another phone call, right? And another person in my family has passed away in a very gruesome death. And here I am yet again, still having to do what I have to do because it's who I am and what I've been called to do. And I have to deal with assassinations and character attacks and all of these things that nobody warns you will come with just life, right? Not even being successful, but just keep living is what the old people used to say. Just the elders, just keep living, and you'll see a lot if you keep living. And so the first trimester was definitely a doozy, and I made it through it. And I didn't know how I was going to make it through it. I didn't expect any of the things that took place during the first trimester. I didn't expect just to even feel the way that I feel. But I have to be in tune with what I'm feeling and be conscious and aware of how I respond and of how I treat people in spite of how I feel. And it's like, man, God, if more people could check themselves in spite of how they feel and not always respond with their emotions, but have some intelligence and some grace. And so even if people don't give me grace, there's just something in me that won't allow me to be as ugly to people as they have been to me. There's just something in me that won't allow me to be as selfish or inconsiderate or mean as people have been to me. So I don't know what your first trimester experience has been like. I don't know if you've had a loss during a pregnancy where you've had to grieve a loved one, or what that process looked like for you. I don't know. I don't know. So in the comment section below, definitely share what did you do if someone passed away, while you were pregnant. What were your grieving strategies? How did you cope? If you know that you were really emotional or kind of mean during your first trimester or just your entire pregnancy, how did you cope? What did you do? I don't want to be evil or mean or have these thoughts where I'm just frustrated with people. But I do understand that I am human and I am allowed to feel whatever it is that I want to feel. I am allowed, and I have my own grace for myself. And so a lot of times when you're called to be the strong one, when you're called to be the leader of a lot of different things and wear a lot of different hats, you feel like you don't have room to be vulnerable. You feel like you have to always have this brave face and you have to always smile and you have to always pretend like everything is okay when it's not okay, and it's okay not to be okay. And I made a decision to say, Micaiah, you know what? You're going to take a mental health day today. You're not okay. And I remember locking myself in a hotel room because I had gotten the last phone call I ever wanted to get. And I said, I'm just going to turn my phone off. I said, I'm going to let mom know I'm safe. I'm going to let, my sister know I'm safe, whatever. I said, but I'm turning my phone off because I'm tired of people right now. I want to be transparent because we look at people's lives and we have an expectation. That's why I can always say, Lord, I pray for the pastors because there's a bigger expectation. I'm no pastor and I'm no preacher, but there are some people who have an expectation of me. And I don't want to meet your expectation every day. I don't want to affirm your expectation every day. There are days where I need a break from you, from me, from everything. And so I booked a hotel room. I was like, I just need a day. And that day turned into 2 days. And I just didn't want to be bothered. I just wanted to get some food, be alone with me and my baby, and just be comfortable and not think about anything, not think about, work, not think about coaching, not think about what my assignment is as club director and how heavy that hat is. I just was over it. And for me, it was okay to say, I need to take care of me this weekend. I take care of so many people. I help so many people. I bless so many people. I encourage so many people. I pray for so many people. I need to take care of me today. And I made that decision. And it was the best decision that I could make. And I said, you know what, if I need to do that once a month, if I feel I'm getting to a point where I need that, I'm going to do exactly that because that's what I need. And the only other thing that took place during the first trimester was I got an award, right, for being a coach in diversity in what I do. And so the American Volleyball Coaches Association granted me that award because the region submitted my name. And it was such an honor. And I met so many amazing and beautiful and wonderful people and just had a great experience. And one of my coaches was with me and my mom was with me. And I love when the people who love me most and love me best get to see the side of what I do, not just what I'm celebrated for, but what I truly love about what I do, and being able to connect with other people and rub brains and get an understanding about what I'm doing in this business. Because as an African American club director, I haven't been given a lot of anything. Not a lot of instructions, not a lot of assistance, like not a lot of anything. And a lot of it was me just figuring it out on my own, like I didn't have a choice. And so I don't take any of it for granted. The experience has been absolutely amazing, and I love what I do. I love being able to impact the lives of young girls, you know, from all over who've been coached by me. I've coached over 500 kids in my lifetime, and I've only been coaching for almost 20 years. So the first trimester was a lot. Whatever advice you have, because we never know who else may be going through the same thing, definitely comment it below. And I'll just tell you that some of the things that I do in the morning is definitely praise and worship and taking my vitamins and just meditating and making sure that I'm mentally okay before I face the day. I don't go into the day just fresh out cold and face it and figure it out. I make sure that I set the tone so that when I'm out there in the world, I'm not off-putting. I'm not taking people away from an experience with Christ or an experience with me, or what it feels like to have grace or be loved or be excited or be encouraged or inspired or whatever that looks like. So this has been a lot to unpack. Next week, we have a lot more. So don't forget to hit the button down below, subscribe, hit the bell, right, so you can get notifications when these videos go up. Share this video. We never know who it'll help, who it'll impact, who it'll inspire. And for no other reason, just to do your girl a favor. Alright, so we are out of here. Because we have stuff to do, like always. Alright guys, we'll see you next week. Say bye. Bye guys.